Hi there, guys. This is Vinney Chopra. Thank you for joining me every week, sometimes twice a week, actually, that we are putting out great interviews for you, a lot of knowledge, a lot of exciting things. This is a Syndication Made Easy podcast. And today we have a great guest. Actually, Stephen Pesavento, right? Is that right? Did I say
Yeah,
it
Stephen.
correct?
Yep, Stephen
Yeah, I
Pesavento of
did
the
make
Investor
it.
Mindset.
Yeah. Is here. He's an active investor who helps clients build wealth and cash flow through commercial real estate investments at VonFinch Capital. As a host of the Investor Mindset Show, I love to be on your show. It was so much fun. Thank you, Stephen. And I'm glad that you're on my show today. And he's a high performance coach. He has raised over tens and thousands, millions of dollars also, which has successfully cycled through multiple assets and beginning in single family, just like most of us. I started the same way, Stephen,
Yeah.
you have flipped over 200 houses and then in under just 3 years, and prior to expanding into commercial focus on building a business around working with your ideal clients, successfully high income earners like himself, and investing in create flexibility, independence. I'm so excited to have you, really. So let me welcome you, Stephen, and please tell me more. Where did you grow up, and kind of take me back? How did you get into this field? I'm sure the audience would like to know. Yeah.
Well, I'm super glad to be here because I love the energy and the vibe that you put out to the world about positivity. Because again, my name's Stephen Pesavento. I'm host of Investor Mindset Show and principal at VonFinch Capital. But where I started from was maybe not as positive of an environment. Had some amazing parents, but grew up, really with a lot of struggles about money, a lot of fear around money, and a lot of fear just in general. And so it's interesting growing up in Minnesota, love Minnesota, absolutely, amazing people, great place to grow up. I live out in Denver now because I love the sunshine and the mountains, so I have to get out here. Growing up, oldest of four kids, always was really interested in learning new things, very curious, always asking questions. That curiosity really drove me to being curious. Hey, how can I find a way to never be in this position that I found my family in when we were growing up, with this huge pain around money and all this fear. And so, ever since I can remember, I had decided that I was going to find a way to be wealthy, to be rich, to not be stuck with that pain. And I had associated so much pain to money. And then I started making a lot of money, worked in management consulting and making more money than probably my parents had, ever made. And I realized very quickly that money was a great solution to many things, but it definitely did not make me happy. And so I went on this journey of understanding how we can think better, how we can be better, and how we can do better. And that's really where the investor mindset was born, was on my own self-discovery about there must be another way. There must be a way to live with passion and alignment, and to make a lot of money, but also to make a huge impact in the world. And that's what led me away from the world of the corporate world and into this space, which is why we're so aligned, Vinney, aren't we?
I love it. Actually, what you talked about, pleasure and pain, a lot of us, actually have to make real clear decisions. And if we are able to get the leverage in between there, and we don't want to be in pain and put in leverage and get to success. Because the big thing is, a lot of us like to be in comfort zone, I call it, right? We want to live with fear. We want to live without much pain. We want to be status quo. That's what 60% of the population is in that category, by the way, But once we really make up our mind, hey, I want to have the successful habits, and those are the habits of successful people, are the habits that the unsuccessful people don't want to do. Literally.
Exactly.
So that's the real deal. I'm so glad you're saying that. My humble beginning is the same way. I know I just, grew up in six people, six siblings and all that. But take me back, what changed your mindset? I think that's what we want to dig into, uh, and how did you
I
took that smaller step, and then bigger step?
Well, it was a lot of small steps that added up to big steps. It was really, I can look back. I have a grandfather named Grandpa Jack, and he ran an insurance agency. He was a successful business person. And I looked up to him because, my mom, phenomenal mother, worked really hard, but, wasn't making a lot of money. Wasn't around because she was working so much. Yeah, was a teacher, but ended up making more money serving and bartending. And so that was the life we grew up in. But I always remember looking up to my Grandpa Jack because he was a guy who was happy. People loved him. And it seemed like he had it all figured out. Now, he died when I was at a very young age, but his memory carried through. And so entrepreneurship was always in the back of my head as one of the solutions to not feeling this pain. And what's so interesting about understanding that pain pleasure paradox, that balance that we live on, is that pain is what drove me to work so hard to get out of that kind of a place. And it's something that is phenomenal for jump starting the engine. But I'll tell you what, it is one of the worst things to continue to focus on once you've started to get momentum. And it's when you need to flip that over to focus on what you want. Focusing on what you actually want and start manifesting that. Because if you keep focusing on that pain, you're going to keep getting more of it. It's good to get you up and moving, and then you shift that. And that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned interviewing lots of successful people, studying amazing winners out there. But the thing is, even as much as I study it, I still have to remind myself to live it, because it's easy to fall back into that habit. And so this is the truth about mindset, is that mindset is simply the thoughts and beliefs we have that end up leading to the actions we take and therefore the outcomes we experience. So we can change those beliefs, but it comes down to the actions we take to build that habit so we can actually start showing up differently. So when you hear a guy like me or a guy like Vinney who are living in a more passionate, with more happiness, more love, more joy, all of these feelings that we want to feel, just remember that you can feel like that too, but we're practicing it. Not every day are we living here, but we're sure trying, and we're not trying, we are doing, and we're adding that up over time, right?
So true, so true. What you're talking about is the universal law, which we should think about: law of attraction, law of manifestation, law of thinking, positive or negative. The more we think about the things that we don't want, the cosmos or the abundance of that same thing is going to give in more and more and more. That's how the law of nature is. If we are thinking more positive will come into. If you want a better relationship, if we keep on saying I have the worst relationship, worst partner, guess what? It'll be staying that even worse, more. If we say, I cannot get started in any kind of investing, I have no money, I have no knowledge, guess what? It's going to be more of the same drawn out spiral, I call it, going into a well. And the more we deeply go into the well, the harder it is to come out of it. So by switching it, what you just said, Stephen, makes so much sense. And Tony Robbins, right? The master, right? I mean, he talks about like state. You can just change the state from this point forward, whatever happened, learn from it. But then now you say, I'm a different person. I know, you are very great at it. I tried to write that book, Positivity Brings Profitability, and I'm adding more chapters to it because we could train our brain. We really can. It's within us. Nobody else is going to do it for us. We have to be the CEO of our thinking, CEO of our life, and CEO of our business.
Yeah, amen. I couldn't agree more. It's so true. And I found that as I've interviewed more and more successful people, and on the Investor Mindset Show, that's what we dove into. We dove into it with you, but there's certain things that successful people do. I'd love to share just a couple of those with the audience. If you're open to it. These success principles we've put together into a great resource. We'll let you guys know how you can get access to it so you can get the rest of them, because we're only going to share a couple here just based on time. But one of the most important things comes down to understanding what you want and why you want it. And when you can develop that level of clarity in your life about what you want and why you want it, you can actually start to manifest it, just like Vinney and I are talking about. Because when you get clear on what it is that you want, and it's important, it's not what you want. It's not focusing on the negative of it. It's focusing on what that life looks like, what that investment looks like, what the outcome of investing that money into that deal is, what the outcome of investing that money into that passive opportunity or into that education or that coaching or whatever it is, and understanding why that's important. That's going to end up fueling you, but it really is most important to understand what, because everything else comes after that. You can build a plan around it. You can find the right mentors and coaches. You can find the right experts to invest with. You can do all of these things. But first, the most important thing that successful people do is they start with getting clear on what they want and why they want it, and everything else builds from there.
100%, 1000% what you're talking about. It's kind of like, when we say we have goals, and a lot of time I ask, they say, okay, where are they? And have you written them down? Many times we say we have goals in mind, but we don't really see how far along we have gone. Many times we have dreams, and we can dream all day long, but unless we pin it down with a specific deadline to reach those specific activities and results, then that's where the rubber hits the road, I call it, right? And then you feel at the end of the day, I made a big impact in what I wanted to do today. 80-20 principle is huge, right? Pareto principle. Usually it's the 20% of the big things we do in a day, which gets us 80% of the result. It's just amazing. You want to expand on your mindset? Tell me more. I think it's so exciting that, we could talk about real estate, we could talk about a lot of things, but if the person is not right in their goal setting, in their drive to passionately talk to, look at the game plan and have a written game plan, business plan, and giving them feedback, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis and monthly basis, then we will not be able to achieve success, right?